Hello and welcome to the Rask Network. What you're about to hear and see is limited to general financial information only. Please be sure to speak to your financial planner or refer to our financial services guide available at rask.com.au/FSG before acting on the information. Hello and welcome to this special episode of the Australian Investors Podcast. And no, it is not just special because I'm sitting on the other side of the studio for once, literally across the table, and Drew is sitting in my seat. But we are talking about retirement advice, retirement wisdom. This is episode 3 of our mini-series, Retirement, titled Golden Years? Just making it up as we go.
And you've got the Wattle mug.
I've got the, for those of you watching on YouTube, this is the Wattle Partners mug. You can get one when you become a client. I don't know, I just made that up, but you probably could.
It's a mug for left-handed people.
It's like a right-handed screwdriver. Basically useless. And also, the Golden Years book is also on the table in front of me.
We have hats and bottle openers and pens. We'll be taking them to the Australian Shareholders Association event on Monday.
Oh, right. Okay.
Maybe if you email in for a free book, we might throw some more merch at you. Some swag.
So email in for a copy of Drew's book, The Golden Years, written with Jamie Nemtz's How to Plan a Happy and Financially Secure Retirement. I've also got a wallet on the table. And Warren Buffett was once asked to show the contents of his wallet. So
I'm nervous.
I've got
7 markies,
in Victoria,
4 credit cards.
We've got a boat license, got about 5 different NAB cards.
He's not a conservative investor. He has 6 credit cards. 2 INGs. Jeez, I actually do have about 8 cards in here. Anyway. What's Wise? Is that a hotel card?
Wise. This podcast is not sponsored by Wise in any way, but Wise is a fluoro green card here. It's actually a way to transfer currencies around the world.
Oh, beautiful.
So if you have an offshore team like we do, you have a Wise account and you can pay. But if you go to Europe or you go to America, you can use that. And it's the lowest cost FX transfers I've ever seen.
Oh, excellent.
And there's a touch of card to it, so you can pay anywhere in the world. Anyway, that's not at all what this episode is about. This episode is about retirement.
That's episode 7.
And you will find links in the show notes to all of the things that we do refer to throughout this program, as well as you can go back in the catalogue and look at all the retirement content that we've done recently. Basically, there's 5 episodes, and I have 25 questions across those 5 episodes to put to Drew, and we are going to try and tackle them in under 25 minutes, which we've kept pace with that pretty much so far. So don't hold us back. And there are 2 things that we want you to take away, or 3 things. 1, we want you to learn from these 5 episodes, but not every question that I ask Drew will be relevant to you. Some of them may be relevant to someone 20 years older or 20 years younger, for example. The other thing to keep in mind is that you can get matched with a financial planner. Retirement advice is best served through a financial planner, absolutely, in my opinion. And number 3, you can get a copy of these questions as well as heaps of other reports and free stuff by creating a free Rask account. Keyword being free. We don't make money from it. It's just your gateway to heaps of resources and downloads and that type of thing. So, question number 11, this is episode 3, is do I still need insurance if I'm going towards retirement, Drew? When is a good time to cancel insurance? I'm thinking things like income protection, life insurance, these types of things, which are pretty common when people have mortgages, when people have young kids, they want to protect themselves and their partners. Do you do a lot of insurance? How does this work?
It's we don't do a lot of our clients in their most of our clients are in their 50s,
okay,
up to their 70s, 80s, and we've got a 100-year-old, I think, as a client as well. Yeah,
wow.
So we do a little bit of insurance, particularly for those that are still in employment in their 50s.
Yep.
I think it's good to summarize what the insurance. I think to understand whether you still need insurance, you've got to know what it covers. So life insurance essentially covers your death or your life.
Yep.
In which case, it's usually set up to pay out your mortgage, so your family can live in the home without having to worry about a mortgage, and usually provide a lump sum of capital that they can be invested or to help fund an income. Mm-hmm. TPD, very similar, but permanent disability.
Yep.
Trauma is like a one-off payment for significant events. I believe like stroke, heart attack, those sort of things. Income protection cover is, injury. It could be mental health stress. I think stress also covers income protection. I'm not 100% sure, but covers your lost income. So if it's your salary or if you're self-employed, the income you're generating from your business. So when do you need those? One of the biggest things for us is if you no longer have a mortgage and you've got assets saved, whether that's in super or in your personal name, holding insurance becomes less valuable. So you're insuring against your your injury and your inability to work and generate income to keep you on the path to retirement. So the majority of these is if you no longer have a mortgage and you has saved assets that could be used to generate income and you're nearing retirement. So it becomes very serious questions in your 50s, not before that, then it can be a good time to cancel your insurance. And there's probably two reasons why two things you'd look at when you're cancelling.
What is that?
The first one is how much that insurance is costing.
Okay.
So insurance the cost significantly increases as you get closer to retirement.
Okay. It's like to the tune of $5,000-$10,000 plus?
Some people pay $20,000 for a couple of $1 million in life insurance, particularly in your late 50s and 60s.
Yeah, right.
You're slightly more likely to die there than you are earlier in your life. But
the chances are you don't need as much cover.
Exactly. So you can be reducing cover, and then it's which risks do you want to cover. So in a lot of cases, we'll end up cutting life TPD and trauma because people have saved assets, but keeping income protection for the remainder of their career.
Okay. And
particularly when they're on high income.
We do have
but I'm not a specialist in insurance. This is from a retirement perspective.
Yeah. We did do a very, very, very comprehensive deep dive on personal income insurances and personal insurances, generally speaking, with two people that are specialists in this. And I will put a link in the episode description for YouTubers and folks that are watching or listening in whatever app you're using. There is a link to the insurance deep dive with Phil Thompson from Sky Wealth and James O'Reilly from Northeast Wealth. They do insurance every single day of the week, so check those out. And this comes back to the first episode of this retirement series, is choosing a financial advisor or a financial advice firm that has a speciality. Drew is the first to say that he's not out here writing income protection insurances for his clients.
And we outsource to a friend of the firm that helps make sure any insurance advice we do is appropriate.
Yeah. So the second question of this episode, aka question number 12, is will I be eligible to apply for the Centrelink age pension, and how do I get an assessment? I guess this is a question that a lot of people have, Drew, particularly regardless of their balance. Like, do I get any type of Centrelink age pension benefit? How do you typically approach this?
I think everyone can apply, and that dreaded 5-letter word, MyGov, is where you need to start with it. Yeah. Historically, we used to do like paperwork and physical forms.
Yeah, great.
But even Centrelink is generally via MyGov now. Yeah. So everyone can apply, and why that's important is because if you're not eligible for the age pension, you can be eligible for other things, and going through this process opens those up for you and kind of gets you in the system. Yep. The age pension has essentially 3 requirements. You have to be over a certain age. Yep. I think that's nearing 67 now. Mm-hmm. Then you have to your income needs to be under an income threshold, and your assets have to be under an asset threshold to get even some pension, and then under another one to get the full pension. Okay. So I think probably the biggest important thing is the full pension is $1,000 per fortnight $1,100 per fortnight for a single person. Yep. So like $28,000 and $1,600 for a couple. Combined. Is what I think that comes out as like somewhere in the mid 30s, 30,000. Yep.
So the idea is that first steps first, which is MyGov. Head to mygov.com.au. No, mygov.au. Is that what it is? I can't remember the exact.
.au.
Yeah. I think they've moved to .au or my.gov.au. It's there's a whole thing with
my.gov.au.
Yeah, there's a whole thing with web addresses changing now and removing some of the dots. Yeah. So MyGov, and that is also a centralized hub for you to view things like your ATO portal,
transfer balance cap,
superannuation. You can track all your super through MyGov. It's actually a centralized Medicare
carry forward contributions.
Yeah, I think it's VA through their Veteran Affairs. Yeah. It's all through MyGov now, so it's a great resource, good way to start. So much better than standing in line at Centrelink. Of course, if you're a bit older and less technology inclined, always get some help with someone. Maybe you've got a grandchild, you can bribe them with some, some tea and coffee or something like this. But get them to give you a hand logging in, because it does require you to have a pretty secure setup, because obviously the government doesn't want your information slipping into the wrong hands. And a financial advisor can help guide you through that process too. Obviously, if you can do some of it yourself, you're going to save money. So that's important to understand. But go and check. You never know what you'll get entitled to, seniors cards. You never know. All of these things, healthcare cards can help. So get advice
And it
on
can
that.
be complicated. If you've got SMSF or different super funds, you have to get a whole heap of other forms that come into it.
Yeah.
But there are some additional things, like the Commonwealth Seniors Healthcare Card is why I say apply for the age pension, because the healthcare card gives you a lot of the discounts. It doesn't give you an income, but it gives you a lot of the discounts that you get as a pensioner. And the income threshold for that is significantly higher.
Meaning that more people would be eligible for it.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
My next question is around aged care, Drew. And obviously for someone in your 50s, you're probably not thinking about this. If you're in your 30s.
Well, you could be for your parents. That's where it usually starts with us, that we start thinking about it. We're forced to think about our parents going into aged care rather than thinking about ourselves.
Okay. Good point.
Yeah.
Point taken, Drew. How much does aged care cost, generally speaking? Like, I was chatting to one of your team members yesterday, Fatuma, and she was taking me through how you would basically do the modelling for refundable accommodation deposit, otherwise known as a RAD. RAD. It's not as rad as the young kids think it is. It's basically about securing a spot in one of these aged care facilities. Just generally speaking, because it's going to be, it depends. I don't want to get that answer from you again. But generally speaking, how much does aged care cost, and how do you think about financial planning around this?
Yeah, I think it...
Do not say it depends. Here we go.
Well, there's different types of aged care. So there's private aged care, which can be significantally more expensive. In that case, you can be looking at a bond from like $500,000 to $1 million or even more.
Okay.
And that's like the penthouses and the
whatever.
The private ones that you see everywhere. But the daily cost of these places is, most of that is set by the government and means tested as well. And I think it's important to keep in mind that if you don't have a deposit, you are still able to access aged care, and you can't be forced to pay a deposit if you don't have the assets to do it. So there's legislation around entry into aged care if you have certain levels of assets. So in terms of the costs, one, there's a basic daily care fee, essentially something like $62, charged $62 per day, and that's just deducted from your account or invoiced to you. And then there's a means-tested care fee, and then there's add-on fees like there can be hairdressing or, there's probably no too much about this, but means-tested care fee, which is also capped. And that's if you've got significant assets, I think it's over like $1 million, you get close to the top means-tested care fee. And that's just essentially saying that because you have more assets, you're more able to contribute to the system, the aged care system.
Well, it's just like anything. If you have more money, you're eligible for less and less because you've got more money to provide for yourself.
Exactly.
Okay.
But refundable RAD are refundable. I think that's the important thing to keep in mind, that you will get that, your estate or your partner will get that back at some point in the future. And there's also an option where you don't pay a refundable RAD. You actually are charged what is a portion of that every year instead. So there's multiple options, and that's where the financial planning can come in, where it's like, are you better off putting all that capital in, or can you generate a better return, same as a mortgage, by investing it yourself?
So effectively, they will take the money, the lump sum from you, because then they'll invest it.
They invest it. They add more rooms. Like from a business perspective, they use it to grow their own business.
So they basically they go, okay, Drew, you want to enter the facility? I'll take $500,000 from you. I'm going to take that and invest it. I'll give it back to you in the future, but I'm going to take it and grow it. Or you're saying, you don't need to do that. I don't need to take the $500,000 from you. I'll just charge you more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So I'm going to ask the last question now, which is, do you have a financial or professional opinion? I've phrased this one quite strategically on things like the over 55s retirement villages.
And this isn't quite aged care. This is like a business investment opportunity that slides into aged care, where you own the property or you lease the property.
Yeah, a lot of the time.
Yeah. Very tough question.
Yeah.
I'm just always wary that I think in all these cases, you've got to be informed and you've got to look very closely at the contracts.
Yep.
That the fees being charged, if you're owning it, what are the fees being charged? A lot of the times you're getting something deducted from the value of your property, and what's the saleability of that if you change your mind in the future. So I think there's a room for each of these things. And I think there's a massive market, like developers are growing throughout the country on these retirement villages. And then from a kind of professional opinion, having an initial step into that's towards aged care and has the ability to add services later on is a big positive, particularly for people as they age, rather than becoming isolated. So that's probably not a professional opinion from a financial advice perspective, just from having seen so many families go through it. So I think they're okay, but you just have to look very closely at the terms and contracts and what you're locking yourself into.
Okay. So like all things.
It depends.
It depends. This was a question that I should have asked in the last episode, but for people who are confused, so this is for, now we've gone from like you're preparing for retirement, aged care, all that sort of stuff, you're in retirement, whatever. This is a bit of a random question, and it's kind of like backpedaling a bit. A lot of people who listened to the previous episode, we should have cleared this up then, and we didn't cover it, so I'm going to ask it now. You mentioned something called the preservation age. Now, people get confused about the preservation age versus turning 60 versus 67, which you mentioned for
age
pension.
Yeah.
So age pension is the Centrelink payment, the government payment.
Base level of support.
Base level of support. But there's this other thing called a preservation age. What is it?
Superannuation is preserved, which means it has to be held in that environment until you met a condition.
You can't access it.
Yeah, exactly. You have to meet a condition of release. And the biggest condition of release is, the easiest one is 65. Once you reach 65, everything's unrestricted, non-preserved.
Even if you're working?
Yeah, regardless, when you hit 65.
Okay.
Before that, the preservation age is the age at which, if you then retire, you get full access to your superannuation benefits as well.
Okay.
For anyone born after 30 June 1964, which would make them, that makes sense.
Healthy. Yeah.
That age is 60.
Yeah.
For people born before 1 July, its age was 55. So it's increased slowly.
Yeah.
But essentially 60 years of age, and it just happens to tie in with the time when your super funds become tax-free anyway, if you start drawing benefits from them.
Okay. So basically 60 is kind of the golden age.
The golden age
in terms of preservation.
But you do need to retire or stop that current employment. Maybe you start another one, or you don't intend to, but you do. But you have to retire from the workforce after 60.
Whereas 65 is I could still be working.
You're just clear.
And I'm happy to access that super baby. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay. So we've got 60, which is the golden age. I've just coined that phrase. Trademark that, Drew. And then 65 is kind of still working. It's called happy days. And then 67 is pension age.
Yep.
Okay. But a lot of people don't get the pension that would listen to the show, or at least partially they get the pension, but not fully.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Cool. So we've asked a lot of questions in this episode. We're up to number 15 out of 25. So we've got 10 to go across the 5-part podcast series. You can get a copy of Drew and Jamie's book, The Golden Years, How to Plan a Happy and Financially Secure Retirement. It's available at all good bookstores, but also on the Major Street Publishing website. Amazon is doing a clearance. They're just trying to get rid of them. And you can head to the links in your show notes. I'm going to put one in there for the retirement, so the insurance episode. There are some resources in the other episodes that are all available on the Rask websites too. Don't forget, if you have a free Rask account, it's free. You can access a heap of resources, including courses, including the community, including downloads like the 25 questions for retirement advice PDF. That is available in your Rask account, so go and check that out. Drew, my final question for this episode is, if I'm in my mid-60s.
So 65.
65, let's say.
Yep.
So people will remember from the previous 2 episodes, we did 50s and early 60s, but this is mid-60s. If I'm in my mid-60s listening to this or watching this, what should I be doing to help me prepare for retirement in the next 12 months?
And this one should be really simple for me, and that is commencing a pension from your super balance.
Okay.
So 65, you got full access, you can start drawing down, but you can also still contribute back until you're 75 in non-concessional contributions. Commencing a pension means all the earnings in your super fund, wherever it is, they're all the same, become tax-free. So you could get a franking credit refund if you got an SMSF, or your return increases by the tax that you would have been paying. Okay. And then all the benefits you take out are tax-free as well. I say this because there was data came out I think it was a couple of last year, that almost something like 30 or 40% of people in industry super funds over 65 had not commenced a pension from their super assets yet. And that was just that's a no-brainer. You start drawing it, even if you can, and you can then recontribute it back if you want to, but you're just releasing this tax payment, which anyone over 65 should be doing.
Okay. I'm glad you said this, but also kind of not glad, because in the next episode, I was going to ask you about how to actually commence one. So in the next episode, episode 4 of this retirement miniseries, I'm going to ask you something about how to commence an account-based pension, how to actually do it. So stay tuned for episode 4 of this mini-series on retirement with Drew Meredith from Wattle Partners, co-author of The Golden Years with Jamie Nemsis. Mate, absolute pleasure. There is a link in your show notes to get financial planning advice. You get matched with a financial planner to suit your needs. Drew, thanks for joining me.
Good to see you.
Thanks for watching this video on the Rask Network. While you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get videos each and every day on business, finance, investing, and so much more.